Go ahead.
It's before I have the privilege of introducing Devorah Yaffa, I just want to say, I'm sure I speak for everybody in our whole group here, that we want to wish you, Nomi, a mazel tov on your making aliyat and landing in Israel. And may Hashem continue to guide you and give you strength to keep doing all the beautiful work that you do.
Amen.
And now it is my real pleasure and privilege to introduce Mrs. Devorah Yaffa Singer. Devorah Yaffa Singer is an Emunah coach and originator of the Lights of Emunah online series, taking you on a life-transforming journey toward a more real and tangible relationship with Hashem. As described by one participant, the destination of this journey is no less than traveling to the deepest heart of your inner world and coming into close personal contact with your true self, your godly soul. At the beginning of 2013, Devorah Yaffa launched the website www.goddirecttorah.com, which we can put in the chat later, a one-stop Emunah hub. More recently, Devorah Yaffa envisioned and implemented a 10-year dream to create a day of learning entirely devoted to connecting more deeply with Hashem. Emunah Days 2018, 2019, and 2020 were hosted to sold-out crowds at the Eish HaTorah World Center in Jerusalem, where hundreds of Jewish women gathered together to celebrate their love for Hashem and their desire to make their relationships stronger. Devorah Yaffa's vision in spreading the lights of Emunah, GodDirectTorah.com, and Ymirtz Hashem organizing more Emunah Days and Emunah retreats is to build a community of Jewish women committed to developing a more personal and palpable relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wow, we are so grateful to you, like we are to all the wonderful women who come on every morning. And I have to say, Devorah Yaffa, like you have been so generous in sharing other people's Torah with all of us. And now it's a privilege to hear yours. Okay.
Thank you, Yehudit Sarah. It's so nice to see you. Been emailing back and forth with you for I don't know how many years.
Baruch Hashem.
And I have a request. Whoever is able to put on their camera, if they would, it would just be so wonderful for me to be able to see all these beautiful faces. And I also want to echo Yehudit Sarah's bracha to Nomi. Baruch haba. I feel like there's more Shechina now in Eretz Yisrael, now that you have landed here. And I can't wait to see you in person and give you a gigantic hug. And I'm just so amazingly grateful that you're here. I don't know if you ladies know a little bit of the history of this Nishmas beautiful group. Naomi first reached out to me, I think it was 2017, 4 years ago, when she first had this amazing vision to say 40 days of Nishmas Kol Chai. That first round actually brought thousands and thousands and thousands of women together. Nomi was single-handedly WhatsApping and emailing and keeping track of all of these thousands of women all over the world. And I was just it was just an amazing, and the fact that you're still doing this 4 years later is just such a testimony to your amazing faith and fortitude. So God bless you, Nomi, and this beautiful group of women. Happy Hanukkah. It's so amazing. I'm going to try to keep this within the 30 minutes allotted to me because I also have to light candles pretty soon. But I will try to finish on the hour. B'ezrat Hashem. So I want to share with you ladies a beautiful piece of Torah from Rav Dessler, from Michtav Eliyahu. Nomi, I think you said you made me a co-host. Is that true? I think so. Let's see what happens if I share screen. Can you ladies hear me okay? Someone give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen, and if I have been co-hosted, you should be able to see. Vault. You ladies see this? What's on the screen here? Okay, beautiful. So this is a piece from Michtav Eliyahu on Hanukkah from Rav Eliyahu Dessler. And for those of you who can follow along with the Hebrew, fantastic. It's just the reason I'm showing you the original text is when I teach, I personally, there's nothing like seeing something in a primary source in Lashon HaKadosh. For those of you who aren't able to follow the Hebrew, I will read and translate slowly, but I just wanted you to see this inside because it's just gorgeous. And it's so relevant to this Chabura, which you'll see in a moment why. So Rav Dessler is answering and I also have to thank my teacher and my mentor, Rabbi Ari Niven, for first bringing this source to my attention, because I certainly would not have found it without him. So thank you, Rabbi Niven. So Rav Dessler is asking a very important question. He's basically, the way at least Rabbi Niven introduced this, the idea of who were the Maccabees? Like, who were these guys? Right? If we really understood who the Maccabees were, they were these, the way Rabbi Niven describes it's these scrawny yeshiva bachers. Yeah. And they weren't, muscle men. They weren't politicians. They didn't have any, prowess and war. Like, who were these guys? And what was it that they did that enabled them to bring down salvation, not just for their generation, but as we'll come to see from Rav Dessler, Kol Hadoros, up until our generation and beyond. So let's see it inside. Okay, he's basically, I'm going to start here where the red dot is. So if you're following along with me, can everybody see this? Do I need to make it bigger? I'm not sure if I know how to make it bigger, so I hope you can see this okay. So here we go, where it says Hine. He's gonna, right now, Rav Dessler is addressing, and this is very relevant to the world around us. So why is there so much suffering going on? Why is there so much pain? Why is there so much darkness, right? Hanukkah is all about bringing light into the darkness. What is causing all of this darkness around us? So he says the following, Hine, kol gzeiros shel hester panim, sibatan b'chisronot ruchnaim b'madregas hador. That means all of the decrees of Hester Panim. What does it mean, Hester Panim? Anytime Hashem hides his face from us, anytime Hashem does hide his face, that is what allows for all of the suffering, for all of just the unbelievable. I think now more than ever, we can really relate to this, right? This idea of Hashem is hiding his face. Why is Hashem hiding his face? Why then and why now? So he says the reason for this is because of some chisaron. There's some lacking in the ruchnius, in the spirituality of that particular generation. Okay, and then he's going on, just following the next sentence. V'al yedei teshuvatam tiknu hachisaron v'nitzlu ma'oivehem. And then it was through, and he gives different examples from Nach, when we were saved from the Plishtim, for instance. And he said it was through the tshuva that the Jews did in whatever generation they were suffering, that through their tshuva, they were able to fix up, to be mataken, whatever the lacking was, and be saved from their enemies. The ken haya gam b'Hanukkah, and so too it was by Hanukkah. Now go down to where it says, so what was this tshuva? What was the tshuva? In other words, again, it wasn't a military defeat. There was nothing that these Maccabees could have done on their own to defeat the entire Greek army, right? It was something, as we're going to see, pnimiut mashpia ladoros. It was something from the inside. It was something they did in their panemius, in their internal beings. That was mamshich. That drew down the salvation. So let's see it inside. I'm reading from where it says v'hayinu. Okay, and if anyone is following along by phone and you have the source, I'm reading from page 111. I don't think you actually, if you're following by phone, then you're not seeing this because I didn't send out the sources. Sorry, Chaya. Okay, anyway, I'll show you later. V'hayinu sheyitalu kol kach b'teshuvatam ad shetagia lenekudat panim de panim. So what was the tshuva that the Maccabees did? They raised themselves up to such a level that they arrived at this point, their tshuva arrived at this point, he calls it panim de panim. Asher sham mitchabrot hanefashot, where all of the neshamas are connected, right? Continue and then I'll explain. Nefesh achat mashpia al chavrata me'ora, right? One soul can affect another soul from its light, right? When you reach this deep inner panim to panim, this deep, deep, deep place inside of ourselves, that's the place where it's called Nishmas Yisrael. That's the place where all of our souls are truly connected one to the other. And again, you've been doing this for years, and just to do this as a chabura, that's why I asked you to put on your cameras, because it's easier to connect when I can see you ladies. That if one soul can connect, it says from that place, nefesh achad mashpia al chavrata. One soul can be mashpia, can influence another soul from its light. V'hashpa'a zot ein mahalacha b'derech hachushim v'gashmin. Right? This light, it's not something that we can sense. I don't have any kind of Geiger counter that I can measure this light in a physical sense. Ela al yedei chibur ruchani. It's through a spiritual connection. It's through us together as a chabura connecting to this deep, deep place inside of ourselves. If I, hopefully with Hashem siyata d'shmaya, I can bring us to this place where we'll be able to feel this connection. Continuing on, ki davar hamamik ma'od benefesh, right? Because this is a very, very deep point within the soul. Yichol lahashpia al nefesh acheres b'derech ruchani, and it can influence the soul of another in a ruchniistic way. Okay, let me just get to the next page here. Okay, I'm now reading at the top of the next page. Let me just read it from my source so I see where to go. Okay, where the dot is, where it says Vidor. Okay, so now he's going to bring it into Lamaisa. Okay, so I'm reading where this bracket is here. Vidor, shehitalel kol kach b'teshuvato ad shehadara teshuva lepniniotam. Right? And a generation, any generation that raises itself. Remember, this is a tikkun. If there's suffering, if there's gzeros, if there's hester panim going on, Rav Dessler, he's giving us a formula here. This is how to get out of the hester panim. This is how to get out of the darkness. Right? To raise yourselves in tshuva, until the tshuva reaches into our innards, into our inner space. To get to this place again where all of our souls are connected, right? Teshuvatam nasit achas mamish. And when we get to that place, and this is really geuladik, and when we do get to this place, we will experience geula mamish. When we get to this point, this panim to panim place, it's achat mamish. It's one mamish, not kiviyachal. It's one mamish. We're one. We're one mamish. B'pnimiotam hamichuberet, in the inner place where we are connected. And then he goes on and says, V'im zochim, and if we merit la'alot b'dargat pnimiyut zot ad toma, and if we merit to reach this place, this inner place until its completion, ad shleimus hahakara b'panim halev, right, to the point where we get to this recognition of the inner point of our heart, as gam bedoros habayim lo yishtane klal, then even the generations to follow, it will not change at all. Shenikuda panimit zot tishar kavua ledoros. At this point, because the Maccabees, they reach such a deep tshuva between themselves, they reach this deep inner panim, the panim point amongst themselves as a chabura, and it was so powerful that it was not only for their generation, but it's this inner point, zot tishar kavua ledoros. It remains for all generations. Right? Right now, we are now drawing down the tshuva that the Maccabees did. Okay, and I want to just continue quickly. Okay, so how do we do this, right? And why don't we feel this? Why don't we feel this tshuva? Why don't we feel this light? What is going on that we're not accessing this? So he says, V'im ein hashpata nikeres. If you're not feeling, if you're not recognizing this hashpa, this influence, why is that? Why aren't we feeling this deep inner tshuva? Why aren't we feeling this achat mamish? Why aren't we feeling that we're so connected in this deepest part of our souls? Because there's chitzonius, there's superficiality, all of the gashmias, all of the distractions, all of the things that have nothing to do with Hashem, with tshuva, with our soul. all of that sheker, it's sheker mamish. He calls it chitzonius chotzetzis. This chitzonius, it's like a mechitza. It's dividing us, right? And it's stopping up our hearts. It's being mitamtem the lave, yeah, and that's preventing us from feeling this hashpah, right? Al ken kavu chazal zecher al yedei masa hamitzvah. So how do we deal with this? If there's so much chitzonius and there's so much superficiality and there's so much causing us to forget, and there's probably no generation in ours where this is more true, where we have so many distractions and we have so many things pulling us away from this inner place. So how do we get back to that? And Rav Dessler is saying that for this reason, Chazal, right, they enacted a zecher, a remembrance al yedei Maisa mitzvah. Okay, so what was the Maisa mitzvah? And for that, I just want to go to the third page quickly, and then we'll discuss this. So what was the Maisa mitzvah? I'm just reading the last paragraph here, where it says ubenes, right? Ubenes hashemen. So again, we all are familiar with what the miracle of the Hanukkah lights was. Benes hashemen sheneros hamanora lo kavu. The fact that the oil from the lights, right? Remember the Hashmonaim, they were able to rededicate the Beis Hamikdash, and they found the one Pach HaShemen, which should have only lasted one night, but it lasted 8 nights, and it was pure. And it was an unbroken seal. The fact that they even looked for it at all is a miracle. That's one answer to why we light 8 and not 7, right? So to commemorate, not just to commemorate historically, but to bring us into the reality of this miracle, because nothing in Judaism is commemorative, right? We want to feel it. We want to connect to it right here and now. So because the oil, the ness of the shemen, of the candles that they lit in the Bayit and Beis Hamikdash, Bayis Sheni, of the candles of the menorah, because that was not extinguished. Heru lahem siman min hashamayim shenitgala bilibam haor hapanimi. Right? This was a sign from heaven, from Hashem, right? That why did he make the nace in this way of a candle that was burning for 8 days, of the oil lasting for 8 days? It was to show the Hashmonaim that so too, right? You have an inner light. Right, you have an inner light, an or panimi, an inner light in your hearts, she'ein lo hefsek la'olamim, that will never be extinguished forever. Yeah, and then he says, v'zehu limudah shel Hanukkah, and this is the lesson of Hanukkah. What? She'afshar lehenatzel mahashpas hara v'gezeros hashmad, right? That we can save ourselves. B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem, save us, please. And we can save ourselves from the bad influences that are going on around us and from the decrees of extinction. How? Rak b'chizuk panimi b'toras b'vodas Hashem. Only through strengthening our panimius, our inner world, right? Through Torah and through avodas Hashem. Okay, so that was Rav Dessler. What is Rav Dessler saying? And again, we are certainly experiencing, whether you're living, I mean, I'm not going to make any political statements right now, but wherever you're living, certainly I think in the United States, it's fair to say, and for sure, anyone living here in Eretz Yisrael, we are feeling choked. We are definitely feeling choked. We are definitely feeling that there are gezeros around us, surrounding us. I won't go into details, but you for sure know what I'm talking about. And how do we get out of this? So what is Rav Dessler saying? He said, how did the Maccabees do it? The Maccabees did it by going into this deep, deep, deep inner place inside of themselves. And they hit this panim to panim point where all of the souls are connected to achat mamish, where one soul is able to impact another soul. And they did it in such a powerful way that it affected not only their generation, but kol hadoros, up until our generation right now. And this, he says, is the way to erase, to get rid of the Hester Panim, to get rid of the Gezeros Raos, is only being mechazek our panemius, by strengthening our inner world. Okay, so in the next, I hope 15, 20 minutes, I hope to address how do we do that? And what is that? And how do we go into this panim to panim place? Like, how do we access this? So to answer that, first I want to describe it just very briefly. Rav Shlomo Wolbe has a beautiful sefer Alei Shore. And I will be happy to answer questions at the end if ladies have questions. Rav Shlomo Wolbe says in Alei Shore, he gives a beautiful mashal for this. He says, he asked the question, why did Hashem create the universe? What like if you ever come visit me here in Malay Amos, I live in a beautiful yishuv overlooking the Judean hills and the Dead Sea, and I have a gorgeous, magnificent view from my house. And at night, it really is like a planetarium. And you walk outside and it's just, the stars are just magnificent. So why did Hashem do that? Why create so much space? Yeah?
Sure.
Somebody have a question? Or go on mute or
No.
something? Okay, wait, hold on. Let me just unmute. Okay,
Unmute.
there we go. That's the beauty of being a co-host. I can actually mute people. Sorry about that. So what is that? Like, why did Hashem create so much space? For what? And Rav Wolbe said, there's so much galaxies and stars and planets, and what do we need all this expansive space for? And Rav Wolbe says something so beautiful. He says that is vast and as expansive as outer space is. He says that's how vast and expansive our inner space is. Right? We all have a universe inside of ourselves. We have planets and galaxies and stars inside of our being. And just like, you have to take like a rocket ship to go to the moon. Yeah. So we have to create like this space capsule almost to be able to go into our inner space, into our inner world. The Bilvavi, if ladies familiar with the Bilvavi, I want to just show you real quick because I'm about to quote from him. The Bilvavi, Rav Itamar Schwartz. So he has a beautiful sefer in English. It's called Building a Sanctuary in the Heart. The title pretty much says it all. Manual for the Development of a Personal and Intimate Relationship with Hashem. This is translated into 2 volumes in English. There are 9 volumes in Hebrew. I'm actually, with a chavrus of mine, we are now almost at the end of Daled. We're about halfway through. We've been learning this for 8 years. And this is my personal Torah, so to speak, from the Bilvavi. I think I've heard it said that the Bilvavi, Rav Itamar Schwartz, he is the elucidator of Emunah in our generation. And we are so blessed to have him in our door. So he says something really powerful. First of all, in order to access this inner space, and we'll talk about the how in just a moment, but he says he calls this space lavad. He calls this space lavad, which means alone, aloneness. And he said, I'm going to show you in a moment a quote. What I did actually at one point where I live, I have this beautiful Kfisha Lavan security road. And if your Hebrew is good, go on to bilvavi.net and download the Rav Shirim. It's called Da'at Atzmecha, getting to know yourself. I went through all of his shiurim and I transcribed it. And a lot of the series that I teach is based on this series of recordings from Da'at Atzmecha. So he says you have to set aside time every single day to go into this space. Yeah. And I want to just share with you a quote. I don't have an actual sefer to quote you from because, again, I just transcribed it from the recordings themselves, but I want to just read this to you. Okay, he says we have to go into this space. We have to make time to do this, to go into this inner space, this inner world, and we have to do it on a daily basis. And why? So he says the following. Everybody sees this? This is a quote from Da'at Atzmecha, Rabbi Schwartz. He says, "Im ein sha'azos," right? And if you don't set aside this time, ein tokef lamachshavot la'orach kol hayom, then there is no substance to your thoughts for the whole rest of the day. Meaning if you don't set aside this time to go into this inner space, to go into this inner universe inside of yourself, there's no substance to your thoughts. Your thoughts, he says, they're like ba'avir, they're like floating in the air. And there's no substance for the rest of the day to all of your thoughts. And then he says, Hanefesh margish shezeh hachiyus shelah. Right? The soul feels this is her chiyus. This is where our soul derives her vitality from, right? If you're feeling wiped out, if you're feeling like tired and lethargic, it's probably a good indication that you need to do this avoda, because this is where our chiyus comes from. This is where our energy comes from. This is where our vitality comes from. Not only that, he says, Hanatina, sricha lavo me'etzem hakarat ha'ani. Right? And our whole ability to give, our koach hanatina, our ability to give to others. If we're like burnt out, again, it's because we're not developing, we're not entering into this inner space. He says our ability to give, it comes from the essence of the hakarat ha'ani, of this recognition of who I am, of my I-ness. The heichan adam megalea ta'ani, and where does a person discover his ani, his I? Rak benakudat hasheket, right? Only in this place of quiet, benakudas halavad, okay? Only in this place called lavad. Sham hu motze et atzmo. There he finds himself. So why? Like this is something that is just so awesome. And I was talking to Ahavia earlier in the day, and she was saying, like, Devorah, Yaffa, how do you like have time to like do all of the things that you do? And the truth is, the quick answer is I don't have time to do anything. In fact, my time management skills are terrible, and I'm really not such an organized person. The truth is, there's only one thing that I can say that helps me do any of the things that I do, and it's because I've been doing this avoda for 13 years, every single day, taking this time out, doing this avoda, and that my entire day I've come to see flows from this space. Now, it's entirely counterintuitive because you're going to say to me, and I haven't even really, and I hope I get to the point where I actually describe to you what this is, but you'll say to me, like, Devorah, Yaffa, I can barely daven in the morning. I can barely say brachas. And now you want me to like sit and like meditate and go into this alone space? Are you crazy? Like, I don't have time. No way, Jose. And yes, and what I will say is, again, just do a controlled experiment, right? Because the days that I do this, my entire day it just flows differently. It just does. Like things that, what got me, like, the whole story is how I started doing this. I won't go there right now. But suffice to say that before I started doing this, I was on this gerbil wheel, just going in circles round and round and round. I had a 1.5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. I had a temper that was like out of control. I was a completely frazzled, out of control housewife.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Yeah, anybody else feel that way? Yes. So, and I was just getting to this point of like, get me off this gerbil wheel, get me off this treadmill. I can't cope. I can't function. My kids would push my buttons. I would scream. Like I was completely out of control. Until what? Until I learned to go inside, until I learned to go into this space. And why do you have to do this in a quiet way? Because Malachim, Sefer Malachim, again, I'm trying to give you ladies like 32 classes in 30 minutes, which is really challenging. But suffice to say, Sefer Malachim, the Navi calls this space, this is where you hear the kol demama daka, right? Our soul is this soft, silent voice, kol demama daka, a still, soft voice. It's soft. The neshama is soft. So that what? So that I can't hear my neshama if I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Yeah, I can't hear my neshama if I always have this beeping going on in my ear, or I'm constantly checking this, or I'm checking that, or I'm just like running around like a mad woman. Yeah, so the only way that I can hear this still soft voice, that I can hear it, is if I learn to sit still and I learn to get quiet. Okay, that's really important. And why is it so important to connect to myself as a soul? And for that, I want to just share with you really quickly. I didn't actually scan this source, but I'm going to read really fast from a beautiful sefer. This is from the Piazetzer Rebbe, right? Otherwise known as the Eish Kodesh. It's a beautiful sefer called To Heal the Soul. If anyone's familiar, the Piazetzer Rebbe was the Rebbe of the Warsaw Ghetto during the Shoah. He was actually gassed in Treblinka. He refused to leave the ghetto, even though he could have escaped. And he refused to leave his Talmidim, and he was gassed along with all of his students and all of his Hasidim. And this particular book is translated into English. It's called The Spiritual Journal of the Hasidic Rebbe. This was the Piazetzer Rebbe's journal that he wrote during the Shoah while in the Warsaw Ghetto. And he writes the following, which is just, again, why is it so important to connect to our neshama, to connect to this inner space, our inner soul? And he says, he's quoting from the Noam Elimelech. He says, in the Noam Elimelech, we find an astounding thought on this matter. He says there that it is impossible for a person to maintain consciousness of God's eminence and greatness unless he first delves into the essence of his own soul. Okay, I'll say that again since you don't have it in front of you. It is impossible, not it's unlikely, not it's hard. It is impossible for a person to maintain consciousness of Hashem's eminence and greatness unless he first delves into the essence of his own soul. So that what? So that I have to, if I want to connect to Hashem, and I don't just want if we're all observant women and we're all praying and we're all keeping mitzvahs, of course I know in my head that God exists, right? But the whole premise of this book, Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, is that it's not enough to know Hashem in your head. We have to build Vavi Mishkan Evne. I have to build a place in my heart where I can feel Hashem. Or as Bilvavi says, we want to get to the place where our connection with Hashem is heartfelt, it's sensing, it's palpable, it's experiential. So how do I get to this place where I can feel that Hashem is really right here, right now? I can feel Hashem's presence. It's by going into this space. It's by making contact with this kol demamad hakatz, making contact with my neshama. And the Piazetzer Rebbe, so the Bilvavi calls this space lavad. The Piazetzer Rebbe, he calls this space hashkata. Okay, hashkata, which in Hebrew means inner silence. And again, the Bilvavi, we were zocha to have a chabura with him 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago, I don't even remember, where he went through with us. We had a phone chabura back in the days where you did this over freeconferencecall.com. So we had a phone chabura with the Bilvavi, the Machaber of the Sefer, where he went through an entire series with us called Inner Silence. And you can get that also on his website, and how to do this hipodidus, but I'm going to try to just do it really fast. So I want to share with you now from the Piazetzer Rebbe, and this I did scan, I did share, so we're going to do another quick screen sharing. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. No, wait, not that. How do I get to the next page? Hold on one second. Okay, so you ladies see where this is? This is from the back of the Sefer that I read to you earlier, Appendix C, from the To Heal the Soul. And so this hashkata place, this inner silence space, so the Piazetzer Rebbe, he says, this is our control center, right? Or he calls this an inner sanctum. So let's just read it inside. I'm just going to paraphrase this quickly because we don't have a lot of time. But he basically says, if you were to do a readout, like if there was some sort of seismograph that could, read your thoughts for the whole day, you would actually be shocked at all of the thoughts, that are coming in and out of your brain all of the time. And just to pick up from here, where he says, neither the worrisome thoughts nor the future cheerful ones are the essence of the human being. They are just migrant squatters passing through. In other words, I'm not my thoughts, right? Whether I have a worried thought, whether I have an anxious thought, I'm afraid of this, or, whatever it is I'm thinking about, happy, sad, worrisome, cheerful, they're just migrant squatters passing through. The previous ones were like irksome aliens, and the latter ones will be a boon. There's a constant turnover depending on the day and what's going on in the person's world. But where are you? Right? This is the essential question. Ayeka is Hashem said to Adam and Chava and Gan Eden. Ayeka, where are you? Where is your real self? Because when a person is fully present and at home in his deepest being, then neither will joy intoxicate his consciousness, nor will distress disturb his calm. Again, when a person is fully present and at home at his deepest being, neither will joy intoxicate his consciousness, nor will distress disturb his calm. For anyone, Hebrew speakers out there, this is called hishtavus hanefesh, right? Hishtavut. I have a whole article on what that means. I won't go there right now, but you can email me. But what is this? How do we get to this inner calm, this equilibrium, this equanimity is really what hishtavut means. So he goes on to create this inner sanctum and make it the control center, right? I have to go into this inner place inside of me, and it's from there, right? That's my space capsule, right? And from in that space, that's my control center, right? And make it the control center of one's inner world, not to be a victim to external circumstances that trigger thoughts through the mind's open door. To do this, one must become infused by and inspired with the divine source of spiritual energy. The source of this energy, though, is not something that can be grasped intellectually. It must be experienced by oneself. It cannot be grasped intellectually. It must be experienced by oneself. So I have a lot more I want to say. I don't know how strict we are on the 30-minute. We're all here. From To Heal the Soul. Yeah, To Heal the Soul by Rav Kalanimus Kalman Shapira. Naomi, is it a hard stop at 4 o'clock, or you tell me?
If everybody's okay with it, go ahead, Devorah.
Keep going.
If everybody's okay. If people can't stay on, there's Michaliba.
Right.
Look at us. It's amazing to be together on this screen. If people can't stay on, they leave. That's all. Keep going.
Okay. I just want to make sure you're good with it. Okay. So, okay. And the reason, because I do, after I want to spend like another 5-10 minutes describing this space, and then I want to actually do it as a chabura. Because there is, as we saw from the Rav Dessler piece, there is a power of doing this as a chabura. There's a power to going into this panim to panim place where one soul connects to another soul. And if we can do this together, then we'll experience, God willing, our own Hanukkah miracles. Okay, so now
I got to tell you,
Yes.
Devorah, I got to tell you,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
come on in the mornings to this group and you see the love that has developed, and don't say to me, other women will get on to attest to it, the love and the unity, and we're like family.
Wow.
Am I right, guys? Whoever's
Absolutely.
still.
Wow. Well, maybe now that you're in
Absolutely.
Israel, I don't
Absolutely.
want to blow it for all the ladies
Thank
in
you so
America,
much.
but maybe now that you're in
Mikhail.
Israel, Naomi, you can change the time, because 3 o'clock in the afternoon is really hard for me. I would love to join you ladies at 8 in the morning. Of course, then it would be like 1 a.m. for the ladies in America, so that's not so realistic. But
Let's get to the place together now.
yeah, let's do it now.
Let's join the shamas.
Let's do it now. And Bizrat Hashem, I will try. I will try to hang out with you ladies more often. Just 3 p.m. is just crazy. So before we create this inner sanctum, I want to give you 5 points to ponder. Okay, 5 points. Point number 1 is that 90%, I haven't described the avoda yet, but 90% of the avoda of going to this panim to panim place, 90% of the avoda is to simply set aside the time and to show up. Meaning what? Meaning there's so much distraction. That's point. And then point number 2 is expect resistance, right? Because this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where your relationship with Hashem is going to truly become real and palpable and experiential. And you can for sure expect that the Yetzer Hara is going to do everything in its power to convince you that you don't have time to do this. Right? But to just set aside the time, what is that saying? It's saying, Hashem, Neshamala, you're important to me. Right? Because again, our neshama, it's that Chelek Elokai Mimal, it's connecting to that Elokus, it's connecting to Hashem who's inside of me. So it's saying, Hashem, you're important to me. Right? You're important to me. I'm setting aside this time. Even if you have no idea what to do in that time, just setting aside the time is 90%. Okay. Number 2, expect resistance. Number 3, I've said this to my students and I will say it to you ladies. I have never, ever have I lost out because I hung out with Hashem too long in the morning. Never. Never, ever. So that Yetzer Hara convinces you like, I don't have time and I have this to do and I have this to do. And No, I've never, Hashem has always rearranged my day to give me the time and the space to do this, which is point number 4, that when I started doing this avoda, the entire arena of my hishtadlus began to shift. So whereas I used to be like running around like a chicken with my head cut off, doing this and this and this and this and this and paying this bill and going here and there and errands like ad sof, the entire arena of my hishtadlus shifted, meaning I'm still doing things, but I'm doing things that are that are connected to my soul. I'm teaching Torah. I'm organizing other people to teach Torah. I'm spreading Emunah however I can through my website, through Emunah Day, through, I hope to create an Emunah retreat, God willing, Rachel, if you're on. I hope to do that with you. But it's not me. It's just me setting aside the time and then allowing Hashem to flow through me. So the entire hishtadlus of your life will shift. And then the fifth point is that my entire day revolves. How long does it take? Good question. So hold on to that question. My entire day will shift. My entire day will shift if I do this avoda. Okay. And again, it's very personal. At the end, I'll put on my website, but God Direct Torah, maybe you could do that, Ahavia. Yeah, G-D, 2 Ds and 2 Ts. Okay. GodDirectTorah.com. So as far as how much time this takes, I mean, the Ramchal and the Bilvavi and many sources say do this for an hour. And honestly, I have gotten to the point where I do this for an hour. Certainly at the beginning, it's a muscle. You start off with 5 minutes. You build up to 10 minutes. You build up just like you go to the gym to work out, Pilates, aerobics, whatever you're doing. You don't lift like the biggest weight. You start off slowly. So start off slowly. But again, the point is why am I now doing an hour? Because Hashem is, again, entirely, there's the website, GodDirectTorah.com. Thank you, Havia. Hashem has entirely restructured my life so that I can do this. Because what? Because the whole purpose of creation is to be in a relationship with Hashem. And if Hashem sees that you want to be in this relationship with him, he will restructure your life to give you more time. That's what I saw personally. Do a controlled experiment. Don't take my word for it. Okay. Finally, I want to just bring this back to Hanukkah, and then we're going to do an exercise. Okay, what does all this have to do with Hanukkah? And the reason this has to do with Hanukkah is that Hanukkah is our 8-day laboratory for doing this inner work, right? Meaning we're trying to get to this panim place. We're trying to get to this inner place. And it's during Hanukkah that I access this space. Why? Because what is the mitzvah of Hanukkah? Right? So the mitzvah of Hanukkah is to light the candles. Why am I lighting the candles? Because again, as Rav Dessler said, it's that or panini. I want to plug back into my or panini. I want to plug back into my inner light. How do I plug into that inner light? So let me just screen share really fast so you can see this. What do we say? What do we say when we light our candles? Hanaros halalu kodesh hem. Right? What is the mitzvah? Right? We're not these candles, these Hanukkah lights, they're holy. And we have no permission to use them at all. Ela what? Lirotam bilvad. Right? Except to look at them only. Now, if you're paying attention, I highlighted here, Ela lirotam, don't read it as bilvad, but bilavad. Right? That it's through our Hanukkah candles, it's through staring and praying and davening by our Hanukkah candles that we get into this lavad. This is what brings us to this lavad, to this alone space. And that if I can do this for 8 days in a row, right? I can do this every day. I can build this avoda into me, right? Why is this so important to do and to pray by our candles? I'll say just quickly in the name of Rabbanit Yamima Mizrahi. She quotes from the Baal Chovos Yair, who was one of the main poskim hador from the previous generation. And he says, it's the next thing I'm reading from here. He says, one who sits and davens by their Hanukkah candles for half an hour, tiske liyishuv hadas kol hashana, right? Is merits peace of mind for the entire year. Who doesn't want Yishuv Hadas? Right? Is there anybody out there who does not want peace of mind? Right? So the Baal Chovos Yair, he says, one who sits and stares into the candles and prays by the Hanukkah candles, because again, this is where you get in touch with your levad. This is where you get in touch with this panim to panim place. And that in so doing, he says, Tiske liyishuv hadas kol hashana. Now, for those of you who have busy families, I'll just share with you. Oh, and the last thing, I'll just show you what Rabbanit Mizrahi said before I go off this page. Right? What is the power of lighting Hanukkah candles? Madlikim shmone yamei Hanukkah. Right? We light the 8 days of Hanukkah, and that spells Mashiach. right? That through lighting the candles, the 8 days of the candle, the Hanukkah lights, this is what helps us to live a Geuladic reality, to bring Geula. So, and again, just as a practical point, I don't have, you could say to me, you have a busy household. When I first started doing this, again, I had 4 little kids under the age of 7. Like, how did you sit, and, when your kids are running around and you want to be with your family, how did you sit there for half an hour? So I'll just tell you what I personally did. Everybody can work out their own thing, but I wanted to fulfill this. And so my husband and I, we each do 15 minutes, Isho Kagufo. So as a zivug, we do the half an hour. If you're single, but you have a busy household, grab a friend, and just do something so that 15 minutes, I sing with my kids and my husband goes out and davens, and then 15 minutes he comes in and he sings with the kids, and then I go out and daven. And that's how we fulfill this chavot year. Okay, so that's by way of the content. What I'd like to do now, if I can be indulged for another like 10 minutes, if anybody wants, anybody who has to go. So you can certainly get this on the recording. I will say that on my website, again, goddirectora.com, I have a Hanukkah meditation on there. So if you're not able to stay on right now, you can plug into the Hanukkah meditation there. And certainly Ahavia has been doing meditations with you ladies. So I assume you ladies are all very well versed in meditating. But what I want to show you is from the Piazetzer Rebbe, because he's going to describe exactly how to build this inner sanctum. And I want to just show us really fast where he says that. Okay, so just give me 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to skip this page because we're running out of time. Okay, I'm now reading again from this book, The Inner Silence, right, from the Piazetzer Rebbe. He's going to describe to us, and then we'll do it as a chabura, how to create this inner sanctum. How do we create this control center? What is it that we need to do to bring ourselves into this inner space? And again, this is one way. If anybody wants to join my chabura, Lights of Emunah, I literally go spend weeks and weeks and weeks describing what I'm trying to do in a very short amount of time. But I'm happy to connect you with that. Or Nomi can connect you with that. Okay, so what's the problem? Why don't we feel this space? He says, because when we're awake, our ego is flaring and it doesn't allow us to get quiet enough, because we have to be quiet to get into this space. So when our ego thoughts are flaring, we can't access this space. So he says the only time you can really access this space, and this is the power of dreams, is when we're asleep. Yeah, and so just to pick it up from here, he says the point is, though, that when a person is asleep, he cannot will or aspire to anything. He is asleep. So, right, but I want to be able to do this when I'm awake. I don't want to just do this when I'm sleeping. So he says the goal must be to come to a state of sleep even while awake. That is to still the mind of its incessant flow of thoughts and desires. Okay, so we need to come to a state of sleep even while awake. Okay, and now he describes in this one little paragraph, to me, what has been the absolute most powerful avoda that I've learned in my whole life. Really, this is just so powerful. And the amazing thing is that actually I was doing this before I learned it. And the way Hashem works is I intuit something and then he shows me a source that shows me that what I'm doing, I'm actually on target here. And when I saw this in the Piazetzer Rebbe, I was completely floored. So what does he say to do? He says he should begin, and again, what this is exactly is a couple of students, Hasidim, were coming to the Piazetzer Rebbe, and they were asking him, Rebbe, teach us the avoda of Hashkata. Teach us how to go into this quiet, silent inner space. First thing you have to do is breathe, Devorah Yaffa. So to go into this quiet space, to slow down, how do you do it, Rebbe? And he says, one should begin by observing his thoughts for a short while. Right now, I'm just reading from the bottom here, even if only for a few minutes. And ask yourself, what am I thinking about now? What am I thinking about now? Slowly, he will begin to feel his mind emptying out and his thoughts coming to rest from their usual flow. Right? By just observing your thoughts begin to slow down. Right? And you can then empty out your mind and the thoughts come to rest from their usual flow. Then one should begin to recite a verse, right? Once you've quieted down your mind and you've gotten access to this inner silence, Then he says to begin to recite a verse, anchor it in something kadosh, anchor it in a verse. And he gives the example, God, the ultimate truth. I personally use the verse, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid, pick whatever you want, in order to bind his mind, now emptied of other thoughts, to a single holy thought. Okay, so we're not going to a no thought place. That's very Buddhist. That's not Jewish. I'm not trying to get to a no thought space, but I want to get to a space where my thoughts have quieted, my thoughts have come to rest. And then when I get to that silent, quieted down inner space, he says, anchor it in a pasuk. And if you can do it in Lashon HaKodesh, there's a power to saying something in Hebrew, to drawing down the forces in Hebrew, right? You can be accessing forces of creation by saying something the Ivrit, but you can also do it in English, but just anchor that calm space in a pasuk, in a verse. And then he says, in order to bind his mind, now emptied of other thoughts, to a single holy thought. Afterward, one will be able to elicit God's help for spiritual advancement, such as strengthening one's faith and one love and awe of God, etc. Okay, so that's the avoda inside. How many? Wow, a lot of you are still here. Amazing. Does anybody want to ask a question before we actually try to do an exercise?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question.
Sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
there are a lot of similarities between this process and Hitbodedut. So if somebody does Hitbodedut, do you kind of have to do both of them?
This is
or one
Hitbodedut.
better than the other, or that's what?
This is Hitbodedut, exactly. I just didn't throw out the word because I didn't know if everybody is familiar. But Hitbodedut, again, comes from that word lavad. Remember, the Bilvavi calls this space lavad. And Hitbodedut, because it's reflexive, it's I'm bringing myself to this lavad place. So that's exactly what Hitbodedut is. So yes, you're covered. I mean, what I'm describing is one way of getting into this Hitbodedut place. But when I say you have to create this time to go into this inner space, so what the Piazetzer Rebbe is suggesting is one way, but there's many ways. This is not the way. But the main point is to make the time and to pay attention to yourself as a soul. That's the key. Any other questions? Yes. So the pasuk that I say is, I could, if Nomi wants me to, I could do a whole hour explaining this pasuk, but not now, but another time. But the pasuk that I say is Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. Right, Ahavi, if you want to write that on the chat, maybe. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. Okay.
My meditation pasuk.
Yes.
May I share my? Okay, I've been doing it Bodedut for many years actually, but my mantra to speak of is En od milvado or ribono shel olam.
Beautiful. 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 Again, it can be any pasuk. What sometimes I'll do is it's from Psalm 16, David HaMelech, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. It's how the Shulchan Aruch actually starts the Shulchan Aruch off with this pasuk. There's so much I could say, but I won't say it right now. But why do I say Shivisi?
I have a quick question. I just have a quick question.
Wait, I just want to answer what the other lady asked real quick.
Oh.
The reason I use the pasuk Shivisi is because, again, there's a power to saying something in Hebrew, and Shivisi, according to the Baal Shem Tov, Shivisi lashon hishtavus, right? Shivisi, the meaning of the word Shivisi is hishtavus hanefesh. The word means to bring you into this place of spiritual equanimity, of spiritual equilibrium, equanimity. That's what the word means. So that when I say the word Shivisi, I'm opening myself to this space. That's why it's just so apropos. But it can be anything. You can say Hashem is right here, right now. You can say Hashem, I know you love me. You can say anything. Neshamala, I feel you. It can be anything. Hebrew, English. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. Does this have to be in a place of complete quiet and peace, or like if someone's driving alone, can they do this, or what would you say? What do you think?
Right.
You know,
Great question. That's a great question. So there's really two avodas in connecting to Hashem. Okay, there's what I call the Yosef Hatzadik avoda, which was Yosef Hatzadik. It says he was an Ish Matzliach. Why was he an Ish Matzliach? Because he would talk to Hashem all day long, right? He would just talk to Hashem. He would say, please Hashem, thank you Hashem. He was always talking to Hashem. So that's something that you want to do while you're driving, right? And the Chumash says this was the secret to his success, because he was constantly talking to Hashem. And I actually have a beautiful shir on this on my website from the Bilvavi, saying the importance of talking to Hashem all throughout the day. And the Bilvavi describes this avoda. What I'm describing is a separate avoda, is a totally separate avoda. You can't really connect to your soul and close your eyes and breathe deeply and do this avoda while you're driving, because it's not so safe. So this is really something separate from I'm talking to Hashem and I'm just working out with him my day and what I need and chule v'chule.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a separate avoda. I'll give you a really quick example. There was one time where I was doing my dishes and then my daughter was sitting at the table doing her homework. And I was, helping her with her homework while I was doing the dishes. And finally, after doing this, going back and forth, and she's like, Ima, and she was making me crazy. And finally she said, Ima, I just want you to sit with me. I just want you to sit with me. And it just like, boom, it just like hit me. Like sometimes Hashem says, okay, it's great that you talk to me when you're, running around and you're doing your errands and whatever. But sometimes Hashem says, Devorah, just want you to sit with me. Just want you to sit with me and be quiet and get still. Okay, so that it is really a different avoda. I actually have to daven mincha before I light candles. So if there's any other questions, would it be good to use your pasuk of your name? Sure, absolutely. Any pasuk. Again, any pasuk. So let's do this quickly.
For Yaffa, I have 15% left on my battery.
Oh dear, what does that mean? Does that mean the whole thing gets nuked when your battery goes out?
No, but I don't have that much longer on the battery on my computer.
Ah, okay. So can I do this? Can we try to do this for like 10 minutes? Or
Go ahead.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
Okay. And if anybody has to jump, I assume this is being recorded. And I also have to jump and daven mincha because the sun is setting. But I want us to just try to get a taste of this as a chabur. I'll try to do this. I'll try to even do it in 5 minutes, just to give us a taste, 10 minutes max, because hopefully your battery will last, Naomi. Okay, so and if anyone has any questions, you can email me just really quick at devorah.yaffa@gmail.com, right? Devorah with an H, DEVORAH, .yaffa, YAFFA @gmail.com. Okay, so here we go. So everybody, just take a deep breath. The first thing we need to do is just relax our body, because the main thing that prevents us from getting into this space is that our body distracts us. So I'm going to do a really fast, like 2-minute relaxation of our body parts. Okay, the main point I want to get to is the Hashkata piece from the Piazetzer Rebbe. If you can, just take a deep breath. Just take a deep cleansing breath. We're going to relax the different parts of our body. You can relax your shoulders, shake out any tension in and around your shoulders. Your shoulders are relaxing. Relax your arms. Relax your chest muscles. Your stomach muscles are relaxing. Allow the relaxation to move down your legs, your thighs, balls of your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes. Your whole body is totally relaxing, your lower body. Follow the relaxation back up your legs, through your torso, to your chest muscles. Allow your head, allow the relaxation to move into your head, your neck. Move your neck from space, from round and round, back and forth. Allow your neck muscles to relax, your facial muscles, your eyes, your ears, your nose. Your whole head feels totally relaxed. Now I want you to just take a deep breath. The air, the word avir in Hebrew has the word light or inside of it. So just breathe in Hashem's light or, and just allow yourself to relax even more. This light should just be going all throughout your body, from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. Now I want us to relax our minds. So to relax our minds, I want you ladies, you can do this in a couple different ways. You can ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I thinking right now? And to help me do this, I use a visual. I imagine a whiteboard in front of me, or if you want, you can picture a white movie screen. And just for a couple moments, just as if you're watching a movie, put whatever you're thinking onto the whiteboard. Just look at that thought, look at it, observe it, become aware of it. And as you look at the thought, it'll just begin to decrease in intensity. And as if you're watching a movie, just let the next scene shift and a new screen comes on. Okay, thought, I see you there. Just put it on the whiteboard. What we're doing by watching this movie, I'm just trying to give you a feel for this, is that I'm creating a space between myself and my thoughts. I don't want to be in my thoughts. Remember, I want to create a control center. I want to create this space where I'm, so to speak, looking at my thoughts. I'm in a witness state, right? As the mindful people call it. I want to bring myself into this witness, observer. I'm watching my thoughts. I'm looking at my thoughts. And as I begin to do this, my thoughts begin to slow down. I say, okay, I see you there. Okay, I see you. I acknowledge you. And as we get into this flow of just watching our thoughts, what should begin to happen is your thoughts begin to quiet down, begin to slow down. And at this point, when you feel yourself just getting into a quiet space, and again, I want to try to do this as a chabura, so that my neshama can connect to all of your neshamas, to have the kavana, as Rav Dessler says, let's try all as a chabura. Let's have the intention, the kavana, to get to this panim, to panim place inside of ourselves. I want to connect to my neshama. And when you get to this quiet space inside of yourself, the Piyazetzer Rebbe says, now anchor it in a pasuk. Anchor it. Shivisi Hashem Negdi Tamid. Ein Od Milvado. Hashem is right here, right now. Hashem loves us. Hashem cares about us. Hashem is so, we're giving Hashem so much nachas right now. And in this space, just for one moment, I'm going to stop talking. The Piyazetzer Rebbe says, when you get to this space, when you get to this place of quiet, you can ask Hashem for anything. You can daven for anything. You can open your ratzon. You can say, Hashem, I want to connect to you. I want all the women in this chabura to connect to one another. I want one soul to connect to all of our souls. And just take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and just daven. If there's something you want to do tshuva on, if there's something you want to thank Hashem for, just take a moment. Okay. And that, you can open your eyes. Naomi, if you're still there and you have a tefillah that you want to say, this is it. We just experienced very briefly this inner space, this inner quiet. Anybody have any feedback from being in that space? Were you able to connect to something deep inside yourself? Did you have any insights? Another thing that you can do, if you don't have a particular pasuk that you connect to, you can say, Hashem, send me a pasuk. I'm open. When you're in that space, you're totally open to receiving. You can say, Hashem, just send me a pasuk. Every day it could be a different pasuk. It doesn't have to be the same pasuk. Okay, any questions, feedback?
I just want to
Good.
share that I had recently an accident, and my meditation pasuk was Kol atzmotai tomarna Adonai mi chamocha, because I had 9 broken bones, and they are healing now. But I felt this pasuk suddenly became so real, and atzmotai also for me. What's my being atzma'it? Because I was not atzma'it. I was depending on help. So to have your own independence and strength, this whole very powerful meditation about it. So anyway, I shared that.
Beautiful. Isn't that from Nishmas? That is from Nishmas. No?
Yes, it's from Nishmat. And that blew my mind when I said it that first day. I was like in tears,
Beautiful.
like saying it, really feeling it.
Nomi's
Anyway.
giving us a message to close up. So sorry, Nomi. I appreciate you allowing me to do that with your amazing women. Nomi, are you still there? Did you want to say that?
I'm here. I'm exhausted.
Thank you.
So,
You're amazing.
okay, that was incredible, Devorah Yaffa.